Hey, welcome to Comedy Happens. This is Matty Simmons, and I have a guest I've known for so many years, and I treasure his friendship, and I really think he's something very special. Before that, I want to tell you about a joke I heard this week. This guy is driving in a pouring rain, it's storming, lightning, thunder, and he can't find a parking space in front of his girlfriend's house, and she's waiting for him, and as usual, he's late. He's always late, and she always complains about it. Complains about that and his drinking and his gambling, and he's desperate. Finally, he stops the car and he looks up to the sky and he says, "God, please help me, find me a parking space. I'll quit gambling, I'll be on time, I'll really straighten out my life, just get me a parking space." As he speaks, the rain stops, the thunder stops, the sun comes out, and a bright sunbeam hits an empty parking space right in front of him. He looks back at God and says, "Never mind, I got one." We'll be right back. Welcome back to Comedy Happens. Our guest tonight is someone I've known, hold on tight, for 40 years. We'll talk about that later. But now I want to introduce to you one of the great voiceover artists and actors and singer, dancer, does everything. He's best known as Squidward on SpongeBob, which for 20 years has been entertaining American television viewers. Ladies and gentlemen, Rodger Bumpass.
Matty, I got to give you a couple of dollars for that introduction. Thank you so much.
A check will do.
That's fine. That's fine.
Or a credit card.
It's not good, but I'll give it to you anyway.
Rodger, SpongeBob, tell me about it. How'd you get it?
It was just a simple audition, just another audition that we go to every day. Blah blah blah. We got the part. We did the pilot. They gave me a copy of the pilot. I took it home, showed it for my family. They all fell asleep. Nobody had an idea that it would become what it became. It was one of those things that was just kind of the right cartoon for the right time.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I understand it was created by a marine biologist. Is that true?
Stephen Hillenburg is a former marine biologist, and he always wanted to do things under the sea. And this is his brain storm that he had there. And I'll bet you, if you watch carefully, you probably don't know that you'll learn something about the ocean there. I bet you didn't know that fish walk around. They don't.
I didn't know they walked
whatsoever. No. And there's buses also.
Never saw fish legs.
No. We don't have any fish that swims whatsoever.
I do know that you got 2 Emmy nominations for Squidward.
Well, I did get that. Unfortunately, I went up against June Foray, one of the royalty personages of voiceover world, and so I didn't get that one. Surprise, surprise. But you know, I'm going to keep plugging until I get it right.
You're pretty much in the royalty of voiceover roles yourself, with all the Pixar pictures, and I bet you've done 1,000 voiceovers.
I've done a bunch.
Tell me, answer me in Squidward's voice.
I've done so many things that I can't remember who I am in the morning. In fact, this is who I am after a couple of Comic-Cons, on the weekend, so I can't really do anything. Oh, I could also be Professor Membrane from Invader Zim, but I don't understand how to do that very long a period of time either. Not now, son, I'm making toast.
And everything else, I have lots of voices in my head, and they always have good ideas.
And they're always moving around.
They're moving around. They move furniture. They make noise at night. They drink coffee in the morning. It's a very noisy place for me.
Tell me, what I know, you're recording nearly everything, although you are on camera occasionally. Any funny things happen with that while you're making that show?
One of the things that it was actually gross funny, but I mentioned the Comic-Cons. And I was in Australia doing one, and at this particular convention, they had a tattoo booth. And this guy comes up to my table, and he takes his shirt down, and he's got all of our characters tattooed across the top of his back. And he wants me to sign Squidward, and then he'll go over, get it inked in, and bring it back and show me. And this guy had the most gross back you'd ever want to see in your life. Oily, hairy, pimply,
and moldy. Full of pictures.
Yeah, and full of pictures. Yeah, and I had to, can I have a longer pen, please? It was the most disgusting thing in the entire world.
People really, those Comic-Cons, fans are
Oh, it's nerds on parade. They're
incredible.
always very nice. But the cool thing about it is for us is that this is where our payoff with the audience, because we know we have an audience. It's not like doing stage work where you do something funny, you get the laughter immediately. This is where people come and say, we grew up with you, and being around that long, we get that. Now, this is exactly what I would have said to the Mel Blanc if I had ever met him. And to be a part of that legacy is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And now it's multi-generational. People, young adults, are bringing their kids to see us and
you're a
turning us on.
two-generation show.
At least two generations, yeah. It's very nice.
I know that my oldest daughter, my grandchildren, both have watched your shows.
I think we're heading on to the third generation now.
You're educating everybody as to marine biology.
Exactly, and comedy on top.
But while you're doing SpongeBob and doing so well with it, you did other animated movies.
Oh, I've done many animated movies with Pixar, from A Bug's Life and the Cars. Movies.
Monsters with
both Monsters films. We did that.
John, my friend John Goodman, and Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal.
Did you work with them?
No, actually, I was in the Loop group, so we do what's called additional voices. And
hey, tell everybody what a Loop group is.
A Loop group, if we're filming something and say we're in a restaurant and we're the principals talking, the rest of the extras will be pantomiming, and so they can control the sound. And so after that's done, the Loop group goes in and adds all those extra voices in there, and we have to do it without standing out too much, kind of like a chorus. And ever so often we have to re-voice the characters, so that involves lip sync. That's where the craft of looping really is. And even in cartoons, they always record the voice first, but after production, they'll look at it and say, well, this little beat, this gag needs a little bit extra stuff, so they come in, and we actually do ADR in the cartoon, so we do have to look at our characters and add stuff. And for Squidward, it's always the same thing. I get the words perfect, but they have to add extra efforts. No, they have to add extra effort, because I scream a lot, and I do effort. And my whole list of things to do on the ADR list is grunt, scream, reaction, scream again. So I never get to use intelligible words in ADR.
Hey, tell me, Squidward. Tell me something funny that Squidward said or did or a scene he was in.
I hate my life. I hate everything about you, everybody else about in the world. I hate everything. I'm unappreciated, underpaid, underwater.
And SpongeBob just shrugs this off.
He's an idiot, and he lives next to an idiot. Well, no, I'm the idiot. I live next to two idiots. Gets confusing in Bikini Bottom.
Squidward, take us to a break.
Well, the director was just screaming and yelling and cussing at us to go to a break, so I guess we better!
We better. Hey, welcome back to Comedy Happens, and our guest Rodger Bumpass, one of the great voices in show business, speaking voice. Rodger, and singing.
I sing a little bit, yeah.
Rodger, I did a little math the other day, and I figured out that you were the longest running actor in the sense of when you started acting in the Lampoon, and the last feature you did, you acted periodically, but a lot, over a period of 24 years in Lampoon Productions.
The longest running and falling down. I did a whole lot of falling down in that.
It started with, I remember so well, we needed a standby for a show we were doing called That's Not Funny, That's Sick. And this kid from Arkansas who was not doing anything in New York and decided to go to bartender school, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I went to bartending school, but it wasn't that I wasn't doing anything. I was in front of Woolworths selling Formula 19
pencils.
Rug cleaner. That was my break.
Oh, I didn't know you were in that business.
They loved me on 42nd Street. They loved it.
So what happened was, Rodger, and fill me in, please, and interrupt me. One of the stars of the show came to me a few days before the show opened and said he'd just been offered a bigger role in a big production, and our show was more of a road show. It was toured the country, and would I let him out of his contract? And I said, go get it. And that promoted you to that role.
Second fiddle, always second fiddle, wasn't I? That was a very interesting story for me as time went on, because I forget his last name. I believe it was Lee, and he stayed in town in the city to do the first production of a new musical called Little Shop of Horrors.
Lee Wilcox.
Lee Wilcox. Thank you. Lee.
Wilcox.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. And that became one of my two favorite musicals ever. I still want to do the part of Audrey 2 or The Dentist. I think I'm a little too old for that one now.
Yeah, but what happened with you was that you went on and instantly you became the star of the show. I mean, you stole every scene.
In fact,
it was incredible.
In fact, my roommate, Andy Moses, a great funny guy himself, had a fake newspaper printed up. I still have it on my wall right now. Bumpass steals show, apprehended in lobby.
Yes, you did. I remember the show opened with you as an ancient hippie stuffed in a garbage can, if I recall.
That was class of '86, yes.
Right,
yes.
and you had passed OD'd in '66, and that's what the show is about. Mm-hmm. You realizing what has happened to the country and the different things that are pot and
right.
Music and
it was a great show.
And
the
old
war
village, and everything.
The old Village Gate, which is not there anymore. I'm very sad about that. That was a very nice venue for such things.
Well, that's where it all started.
Yeah, that's right. With the Lemmings started there.
Yeah. So then after that, you did another show for me called Class of '86,
mm-hmm.
and you were great in that. And at the same time, I had made Animal House, and I now had assigned two of my editors, John Hughes, he hit the big time at mm-hmm. some point, and another writer called Todd Carroll, to writing a story that I had written called Jaws, Three People, Nothing, and it was the third Jaws picture, but it was a comedy. Mm-hmm. And the lead role was this young Arkansas type who comes to Hollywood and becomes a producer.
Typecasting.
And you were the lead role would star opposite Bo Derek.
Oh, don't even mention that.
Right.
According to the script, I had a love scene with Bo Derek.
Right, and let me just say what happened, is that you were in the show at the time, That's Not Funny, That's Sick, and we played the Roxy on Sunset Boulevard,
yep.
And the executives at the studio said, you can't put this guy in as the lead of a major motion picture. He's never done anything. I said, you come to see the show. They came, and you were hired immediately.
Excellent.
And of course, the great tragedy. You had come from being bartender school and selling rug cleaner to being co-star of a Jaws sequel. And the show we never made the movie.
It was the right confluence of various things, the success of Animal House, Bo Derek's 10. It was just the right time for the next Jaws edition of its franchise. And we decided to do a comedy version of it. And then, of course, we were going to show how Bruce worked, the shark. You know?
We had the sharks.
And then Mr. Spielberg, as I understand it, stepped in and said, no, that's going to mess up my movie.
Well, he wasn't that kind.
Yeah. Oh,
Spielberg went to the head of Universal and said, if you make this movie, I'm leaving the studio.
That's what I heard, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was my
Hollywood So they had to choose between me and Spielberg.
What do you think they're going to do?
What a terrible decision.
They were lucky on that one.
Actually, I left and made Vacation at Warner Brothers, and Zanuck and Brown, who were my co-producers, made a string of great movies after that. And you went on, and what followed?
After that, you and I did, with Stephen First again, we did Two Reelers, the pilot.
Right, we did NBC, I believe.
Yep, I still have the People magazine blurb on it that says, it should be given a chance. No one listens to People magazine, apparently.
It was a terrific show.
It was.
I had created with the head of NBC, we sat in a meeting and just hit back and forth and came up with an idea for a show. And I put you and Stephen in it. And for some reason, despite the fact that he was the head of NBC, the studio never picked it up. Yeah. And it was a really good show.
It was a great combination. Back then, Stephen, you know, had some girth to him as he did in Flounder, and I was very skinny. We stood next to each other. We looked like the number 10, and which was appropriate too for Bo Derek. And that was that. And then after Jaws got canceled, I said to myself, I tried to rationalize. I said, you know, I was a young guy. I was 25 years old, 26, and I said, yeah, I wasn't really ready for a full lead role in a feature film, you know.
You lied to yourself.
I am now. Where are you, people?
And then you were in other movies for me. I know you did a number of pictures for me. And then you became one of the great voiceover people.
I can't let this moment go without saying how grateful I am to you, Matty, because you started my entire career.
Hey,
this man tried to make a star out of me over and over
talented.
Again. Yeah, he absolutely. I owe everything to you up to this moment.
Put it in the form of a check, please.
I will.
Yes, I'm being yelled at, so we got a break for the people who pay the rent. We'll be right back with Rodger Bumpass. Hi everybody, we're back with Rodger Bumpass. Rodger, you know, back in the 90s at some point, I remember turning on a show, I think it was called Silk Stockings, and you played a vicious villain.
Yes, it was my first really big film role that I got to chew the scenery on. Back then I had a ponytail, and it was called Shock Jock, kind of based on Howard Stern kind of a thing. And
he killed a lot of people.
He killed a lot of people, yeah, not with comedy though. And I murdered my girlfriend because I was going national and whatever, and I got to do a lot of good stuff, employ my broadcasting kind of sound to it, and it was really, really a nice, like I say, you got to choose.
It was great. I stumbled on it. I didn't know you were on it. You never told me.
Wow.
And I was flipping channels, and there you were. Mm-hmm. So then after that, as the New Century came into view, you turned to a lot of voiceovers. How'd that happen?
The collapse of our film Jaws 3 People 0, which brought me to LA, which, by the way, when I left Arkansas, I had this slim plan of going to New York and getting something that took me to Los Angeles. Thank you very much for that. Got out there, and with the cancellation of that film, I walked down the office at William Morris and I said, you know, I do these voices and stuff. I got these things in my head and whatever, you know, and so they started sending me out. As it turned out, that became my bread and butter after you know, a certain
a lot of bread and a lot of butter.
A lot of butter, yeah. No oleo for
Hey,
me.
I'm going to take you on a swift journey through life, and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And I want you to answer in your wonderful voices.
All right, I'm ready
that
now.
you've done for so many great animated movies and TV shows. Okay, first of all, what's your favorite comedy show of all time?
My favorite comedy show has to be Fawlty Towers with John Cleese.
Ah, good choice. How about comedy movie?
Comedy movie. Comedy movie will have to be anything SpongeBob did. And anything made by the Zucker brothers. I love all the Airplane. And Hot Shot and all that stuff.
Great.
Love that people.
And, of course, the feel-good movie of all time, Platoon.
Very made you warm all over.
Oh, I was in tears.
Yeah. And what about your favorite comedy actor?
Well, duh, me.
Aside from you.
Aside from me. Well, again, it has to be John Cleese. I just think his work with Monty Python and subsequent work is just a
You're Monty Python way.
I'm absolutely a Monty Python. And Firesign Theater, which you helped turn me on to also.
Uh-huh.
And then the theater group that you also referred me to. This man's so responsible for my life. Low Moan Spectacular. That all the stage shows that I got to do with them, and a lot of the physical comedy.
El Coca-Cola Grande, right?
Coca-Cola, El Grande de Coca-Cola, yeah.
Yeah. I got to screw it up a little bit.
It's a big Coca-Cola.
And how about actress?
Actress Catherine O'Hara. Here again, there's a connection with you. We were doing the road show in Toronto. And she came to see it, and she referred me to the Fire Hall, which is where Second City did all their stage work.
Yeah.
They brought me up for a week-long audition, and they offered me the job. Martin Short was there, and I was always indebted to her. It just so happened that was the time that we were in pre-production for Jaws 3 People 0. So I made the decision to go to Los Angeles.
I would think.
And that's the history.
Yeah, that wasn't a tough choice.
No, it really
Except that
wasn't.
we never made the movie.
Well, that was a tough end result, yes.
All right. Now, what's the funniest line or scene you remember from a movie or TV show?
Oh, gosh. Well, it has to be from Men in Black.
And tell me in your voice.
Men in Black. What was his name? The main detective there.
You sold a reverberating carbonizer to for an unlicensed cephalopoid? You piece of... He looked okay to me.
Leslie Nielsen?
No, that's the other one. Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee Jones?
Tommy Lee Jones, yeah. It's everybody's name Jones, sorry.
Do you have a favorite stand-up? Do you like stand-up comedy?
Absolutely. In my last few years, I've become kind of an archivist of one-liners, and I have a great appreciation.
Throw me some.
Well, let's see here. Just say no to drugs. Of course, if you're talking to your drugs, you probably already said yes. And then, of course, the Dangerfield things of, my proctologist used to be a photographer. Every time I see him, he says, bend over and say cheese. And you can never lose a homing pigeon. If the pigeon doesn't come back, all you've lost is a pigeon. And anything that walks into a bar, anything that requires a rim shot, I'm for.
A Roman legionnaire walks into a bar, holds up 2 fingers and says, give me 5 beers.
I got one that Dan Aykroyd and John Goodman just gave me. A skeleton runs into a bar, as you asked, and yells out loud, give me a large beer and a mop. You have one?
Yeah. And then if you go through 100 people walk into a bar lines, and then you end with Howie Mandel's line of
2 people walk into a bar, which is really stupid. You figure the first guy walks into it, the second guy would see it, but no, boom, they both walk into it. Howie, I gave you credit for that. It's yours.
Rodger, it's just been wonderful having you here tonight.
Right back at you.
As I said at the early part of the show, so many years together, and so many wonderful things you did without me.
Mm-hmm.
But you were great, and please come back.
You are the best, Matty, and you and I are going to continue to do this until we get it right.
I'm going to do it for another 10, 20 years.
Easily.
Then I'm retiring.
Then
absolutely.
Yeah, slowing down a little bit after that, okay?
Good to see you, Rodger.
Good to see you. I love you, man.
Comedy happens.